You're listening to the AdCast with your host, Eric Elliott.
I got the man himself on the line today, Mr. Jonathan Yaffe. Today he's talking to us. He's inside Toronto today. So he's a traveling man. And Jonathan, I'm super proud of your accomplishments, man. And you are one of those people, man. You didn't just wake up and start doing this shit in one day, man. You've been doing this. You've been grinding for a while. And I'm going to brag on you just a little bit. This guy, he's an entrepreneur. He's an educator. You'll also see him on some stage doing some speeches every now and again. But most importantly, he's a sushi addict. You didn't think I knew that, huh, Jonathan?
I did not knew my eating habits, but
he's also the CEO of AnyRoad, and AnyRoad is a leading experience relationship management platform that enables global brands to properly measure, scale, and implement experimental marketing campaigns. AnyRoad helps companies create brand loyalty, change consumer behavior, and better understand their brand associations by providing them with data intelligence sourced from experience-based marketing. Holy shit. That is strong, dude, because that's more important now more than ever, man. So Jonathan, there's going to be some folks who are going to say, like, who's Jonathan, man? Jonathan, let's tell these folks exactly who you are and what you do.
All right. Well, thanks for having me. It's great to be here with you.
Yeah, thank you, man.
I love sushi. I eat a lot of sushi. And I'm a firm believer we were just talking about this, but I'm a firm believer in the power of real life engagement. And both in terms of people and work and creativity, but also in terms of brand.
Right.
Especially coming after, this pandemic, we've been stuck on our sofas for 2 years. And what we really see is this power of human connection. People are not getting out of their houses for the first time in 2 years, vaccinated, and wanting to just go buy a bunch of stuff. People want to have immersive experiences. People are going to concerts. People are traveling. People are, going to parties, and people are really craving this human connection. And what we found is that, Zoom and Hopin and all these different, online platforms substituted for that out of necessity, but really it didn't replace from a human perspective what we all crave.
Yeah, we need that interaction.
Absolutely. And what we found, and actually where I started my career, but what we found is that the most successful brands in the world understand this and are investing heavily in in-person experiences as a primary form of engagement. Not on Instagram ads, not on Facebook ads, not on TikToks. Of course, these things are still happening, but that the strongest form of engagement is through in-person immersive experiences.
Damn. What actually... I also want to give you congratulations to you and your company too. I said I was going to mention that too, on a Series B funding of 47 million, and people they'll hear that and they think it's all gravy, but truthfully, there's a lot of responsibility that comes with that. So kudos to you and your team. But one of the brands that you work with, and we're going to dive in into a lot of what you do with AnyRoad, but one of the brands that you work with was Red Bull. I mean, and hell, you were working with Red Bull before people knew exactly that Red Bull gave them wings. So I mean, tell me about that, because you started that. I mean, straight out of college. I mean, right. How does that go? I want to know, like, how did you start getting to where you are? What the hell got you up every day and said, I got to keep pushing? Or when was it like never enough that you got to keep going? And how do you stay motivated,
Yeah. So actually started at Red Bull during college. I was working 2 jobs, one in a genetics lab, because I have a science background. I'm a big science guy, but also started working at Red Bull. And this was the best job for a student. I got to drive around the Red Bull car, big can on top. We had basically unlimited product. We could do whatever we wanted in Northern California, as long
a lot of energy.
A lot of energy, yeah. As long I used to drink a lot of Red Bull. We're not going to take the conversation in that direction. But we could basically do whatever we wanted in California as long as we found Pinots, which are people in need of energy. Can't make this up. And then as a part of that, we started organizing these incredible experiences, right? Things like Flugtag, which means flying day, where people actually build these planes and basically fly them / push them off like a pier into the water. It's hilarious, and none of them actually fly. They're made of like sofas, and like, they're wearing costumes, and it's a lot of theatrics. And there are jets flying overhead with people jumping out of airplanes, and people going down mountains on tricycles, DJs playing, people are dancing, everyone's having an amazing time. 50,000 people came from all over these incredible experiences, and like, people really love it, right?
Yeah.
People are coming out of love. And we spent over $1 billion a year on experiences like that when I was at Red Bull.
Get out of here.
$1 billion a year. So look, clearly it worked, right? Red Bull has by far #1 market share globally.
Yep.
But what drove me absolutely crazy, remember, I'm a science guy, we had no data. We had no idea whether what we were doing was working. And we had no idea who was coming to these experiences, how it was actually changing people's purchase behavior, how it was changing people's perception of the Red Bull brand. We knew nothing.
Wow.
Right? We had what I call vanity metrics, right? Like 50,000 people came, we gave out 80,000 Red Bulls, and we spent $14 million on this experience. Is that good? Is that bad? Like, who the fuck drank these, 80,000 Red Bulls? Was it evenly distributed, or was it like one person who just like went crazy and drank all the Red Bulls? So we didn't have any data there. So this is really what I've dedicated my life to. And now it's 20 years later. And what we're seeing, especially coming out of COVID, as I was just mentioning, the world has completely shifted from a things economy to an experience economy. And we see this in terms of millennials who are spending way more money on experiences than things, right? 72% of millennials prefer to spend money on experiences than buying things, right? This is a generational change. We see retail brands that are literally shutting down every single day, right? Look at the news, and it's like, this retail brand bankruptcy, this retail brand out of business, right? Why would I ever walk into a store if I can buy anything I want on my phone, right? Potentially same day delivery, don't have to wait in line and deal with annoying people, better customer service. Like, why would I ever walk into a store? But what we're seeing is this global transformation from a things economy to an experience economy. And the biggest, most successful brands in the world understand this and are doubling down on actually scaling experiential engagement as the primary way that they're interacting with their customers.
Yeah. Damn, Jonathan, I remember, in my old radio days, I remember we would get like, this is when we had to wait on the fax machine to give us like orders, and we run the radio ads.
Absolutely.
And I remember like getting an ad, like getting a buy from like Red Bull, for, at the time I had no damn idea, what it did. And I didn't think about experience. We were just selling spots and dots at the time is all it was. But I do remember like Red Bull just taking over everything. And I think you're exactly right, was they never sat there and talked about taste. What they just did was it was all experiences. So it was the experiences that built that brand.
That's right.
Really what it was, dude.
That's right. And the best brands don't need to talk about product, right? Red Bull never tells you, hey, this is a functional energy drink beverage. It tastes like stale candy or something, right? Like, they don't need to say that. They just say, look, it gives you wings.
Right.
And you associate, and we put $1 billion a year into these incredible experiences that made people think about adventure, risk taking, like extreme sports, all of these things. And the second you are, racing your car down the freeway to get to your friend's house, and you're like a little bit tired, and you pull over, you're like, I need wings now. And that alone turns into a lot of brand perception. So absolutely, Apple doesn't talk about how many, the inner workings of the iPhone. They just say, look, this is a phone that does everything, basically.
It's funny you say that, when you think about I guess Red Bull is kind of a perfect one to talk about like how a brand experience can just change everything, and how experiences and everything as well, especially millennials could sell. Some millennials will trade in money just for better experience in their job, you
Absolutely.
know?
Absolutely.
So I mean, so now you worked with Red Bull. I mean, you had this, the scientific background, and there was no data. And how did you forge on from there to say, I'm going to create this, I can scale this, or I can create something that can be quantifiable for people where they can see the numbers, right?
Yeah.
How did you get there?
Yeah. So the big takeaway was that the frustration that I had at Red Bull, helping to manage $1 billion budget and having no real visibility into the ROI,
Mm-hmm.
turns out that same thing was on the minds of a lot of different brands.
Oh,
And and it is actually accelerating, right? So more and more brands are investing heavily in this. You have brands
wow.
like Lululemon that spend $300 million a year on free yoga classes. Why? Same
Wow.
thing as Red Bull, right? They're not trying to sell you an additional pair of yoga pants. They're saying, we want to be the place where you do all your yoga, and we'll do it. And you can take your yoga inside a Lululemon store for free in almost any city in the world, right? And they want to bring together the yoga community, knowing that by doing that, they build brand love, and ultimately they sell more pants. But they're playing the long game, right? The same way we did at Red Bull.
Right.
You have brands like Michael's Art Stores that do 1 million art classes per year,
Mm-hmm.
all over North America. You have brands like Nike that are actually turning some of their stores into like basketball courts, because they don't care if you walk in and buy a pair of Jordans, right? A lot of people buy shoes on their phone now, right? They want you
Yeah.
to walk in, try on a pair of Jordans, play basketball against a Nike employee in the store, have this great experience.
Mm-hmm.
Like, wow, I just got to play ball inside of a Nike store wearing a new pair of Jordans. This was great. And then I'll walk out and I'll buy those same pair of Jordans on my phone later that day. Right. So
Wow.
again, we're going away from this idea of revenue per square foot, which is a very antiquated way to look at retail footprints, and
Yeah.
toward a way where if all commerce is moving to the phone, like in China, which is probably 15 years ahead of us from a commerce perspective, then retail space is focused on consumer engagement and ultimately on experiences.
Damn. That's nuts, man. So where does that leave some of the retailers today? Or you would it would make you think that some of the box stores or the retailers would say, we need to focus on experiences, guys, I mean, so where are they in their thinking? Are they behind
Yeah.
now? Are some of them?
Within 10 years, my belief is that every single retailer will go out of business or become an experiential brand. And then, I mean, I look at China because they're, again, about 15 years ahead of us.
Mhm.
People buy everything on their phone, right?
Yeah.
You can literally go buy one watermelon you open your phone, buy one watermelon, and they'll deliver it to you in like an hour. Like you're just like, I want a watermelon. Somebody will
Mhm.
give you a watermelon. So all commerce happens on the phone. But what you have is, and again, people get shocked when they hear this, Alibaba, which is a massive company that
Mhm.
really powers a lot of commerce in China, and JD.com also, are actually building physical shopping malls and physical stores in China. And people are like, wait, that's crazy, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
these are digital first companies, like powering all e-commerce, like ridiculously,
It's like Amazon having a store.
well, Amazon is opening stores, right?
Damn.
So that's the whole thing. And this is what brands are realizing, is that even though purchases have moved to the phone and are continuing to do so, those real life experiences cannot be substituted by something digital.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So Alibaba and JD, their whole perspective here is go to those stores, go to those malls, experience these products, right? And that way you will have a higher chance of purchasing it later on. And we see that
Wow.
in the United States from a lot of digital first brands that are now moving. We think of this as backwards, but moving from digital first to brick and mortar, right? So you have Warby Parker, the glasses brand. You have Away suitcases. You have Allbirds shoes, right? These three brands started as only digital first, direct to consumer. You couldn't buy them in malls. You could only buy them online, only through the website. They've all started investing heavily in brick and mortar, in building out physical footprints, because Warby Parker realizes, like, if you go in and try on a pair of glasses, you'll be more likely to buy them later on. Same with Allbirds, same with Away, same with these brands in China. So I do believe, as time goes to infinity, all retailers will be going out of business unless they're turning into experiential brands.
Wow. There's so let's just say, like, for example, like the whole GameStop run. Is that considered kind of the experience, or is that what kind of keeps people holding on to them? Because truthfully, you can go anywhere and buy what's inside of a GameStop, but they're still around. Is it just because of the experience? You go in there, play the games, and is that it?
I guess so. I'm not going to explain the GameStop saga, but
yeah, we'll stay away from the whole stock issue. But like you know what I mean. Like, that is kind of like an experience, and it's it's an easy one to kind of pull off as an example where it's like it's an experience. They want you to go in there and play games.
That's right.
Is what they want you to do.
That's right. And what we're seeing is that the most successful retailers are at least experimenting with this. Right. You look at the world of beauty, right? Sephora, you can, and these days you can buy any makeup online, right? But Sephora is investing heavily in things like makeovers, makeup tutorials, makeup classes. They want to educate. They want to bring people into this ecosystem. And because of that, you're seeing the individual beauty brands like Estee Lauder and all their brands, and a lot of them are falling flat, and L'Oreal and stuff like that, right? People are trying to do metaverse and stuff like that, but what a lot of these brands are not doing well is actually engaging consumers experientially. They're just trying to throw out their products into the world and hope that they stick. But
I agree.
People don't have a lot of loyalty to products these days. Yeah.
Could that be why, I guess some of those brands, like some of the ones that may have, not focused on experience, they're just saying, hey, let's just get an influencer, That's
right. So when I see brands investing heavily in like Instagram influencers, it basically is a sign to me of desperation, right? Frankly, people do look to influencers, right, for maybe what to buy, and you might buy, an extra pair of, an extra tube of lipstick, because Kylie Jenner uses it or something like that. Right. It's not going to change your lifetime value. It's not really going to change your long-term behavior.
Now, I want to talk about the product. People have heard of the word CRM, for customer relationship management, but then now there's ERM. So, explain to me exactly what that is, and then I want to talk about AnyRoad.
Yeah. So the whole concept of experience relationship management is looking at these experiential initiatives not as just a fun thing to do, but as a way to actually build deeper relationships with consumers and pull in a lot of first-party data. So you have brands like Budweiser that do 1.6 million brewery experiences per year. You have 1 million people a year who go to the Kentucky Bourbon Trail. You have Ben & Jerry's does, they have a ice cream factory that you can go visit in Vermont, which is an incredible experience, right? The problem is that these brands, because they're CPG, don't actually know who's consuming their products.
Got it.
So they scale these experiential programs to actually go deeper and build one-on-one relationships with these brands, with their consumers. And that's difficult to do, right? So what we realize is that this is both a data problem, an operational problem, a logistics problem, and also a legal problem, right? Because
Wow.
you need consumer opt-ins. And so we basically looked at these 4 areas and built what we think is really the sales force for the experience economy.
That's amazing because I think truthfully, you'll find out a lot of people, a lot of brands, some of them don't know who their customer is.
You'd be surprised.
They do not know who their customer is. They couldn't write out their ideal customer
That's
if you
right.
gave them pen and paper. That's
right.
true.
Yeah, and what the way I think about it is, I've been shaving since I was about 13, and I've exclusively my entire life used Gillette razors. Gillette's owned by Procter and Gamble, one of our customers. And again, since I was 13, exclusively with Gillette razors. I'm a huge Gillette fan. I've spent a lot of money on Gillette razors. Gillette has no idea who I am.
Because to them, they think you're not the core guy.
Oh, no, they think I'm the core guy, but I don't buy my razors from Gillette. I buy them from Amazon or CVS or somewhere else. And so Gillette has no direct relationship with me. And because of that, they don't really have a good way to communicate with me. And they don't know how often I buy razors, and they don't know whether I have a huge beard or I'm clean shaven. They don't know which type of razors I prefer. They don't know my email address. They don't know my age. They don't know where I live. I'm just some anonymous consumer who buys their razors through third parties. And this is a huge detriment to that, right?
Oh my gosh.
So they spent the last 20 years building better razors, but not actually understanding more about their customers. And meanwhile, you have brands like Dollar Shave Club, right? Like Harry's that came in and really changed the game by building direct to consumer models, which is not only a better economic model, but they know exactly who all of their customers are. They have
my gosh,
direct relationships with them. They know their email addresses. They can call them if they want. They know how often they reorder razors. They know where they live. They can approximate socioeconomic level by zip code. Like they know a lot about these people. And this has been to the detriment of, any brand, but that focuses just on product without actually building those relationships.
No, I can see it, man. Because if you think about it, if they don't know exactly who their customer is, then they are forced to just brand and add and brand and ads and brand and ads to be able to push product because they don't know that you are their customer.
That's right. But guess what? Procter and Gamble realized this. Thank goodness. And now they're investing heavily in experiential, right?
Wow.
They're building out experiences. They did something huge at the Super Bowl. They're investing in connecting with both men and women who shave. And they're really going deep on experiences as a way to collect first party data and build these one-on-one relationships with their consumers.
It's I was watching an old episode of Mad Men. I didn't do the whole thing, but back then everything was smoke and mirrors, man.
That's right.
Everything was so smoke and mirrors, but nowadays brands want data. They want data and results, man.
Absolutely. And this is how I view the entire, it's funny I use that analogy sometimes. The entire evolution of marketing it used to be Mad Men. It used to be people sitting around talking and being like, yeah, this would be a very creative ad. This would be really cool. And it's just like, great. There is a lot of creativity in marketing, but now if you are going to be a good marketer, you need to be a data scientist. You need to understand data. You need to understand ROI. You need to understand channels. You need to understand experiential first party data. Like you need to know all of this. And, and you still see the marketing and ad world full of people who think that they live in the Mad Men world that are just kind of throwing stuff out into the ether, being like, it would be great to do something with the Kardashians. It's like,
right. But, I think it's going through a generational cycle, though. I think it's going through a generational cycle because, we talked about some of the younger folks coming up now where they're very experienced and very data heavy and they make data decisions, whereas a lot of the decisions before could have been emotionally driven.
That's right.
Emotionally driven to say, hey, we're going to do this product or we're going to launch it this way because of this. And they truthfully had no idea why or what they were doing or any good reason behind it.
Absolutely. And I actually want to take that a step further to say I think the emotional aspect is actually very important. But I don't think that's disconnected from data. In fact, we can use things like natural language processing to understand and quantify emotional impact. Right. So again, I mean, you come to a Red Bull event, or you come to a Nike basketball experience, and that can still have that emotional impact. But rather than just saying that was great, how about we look at this across, longitudinally across 1 million people to understand the change in brand perception that these experiences caused, B, put that emotional impact into words, and then start to compare and say, look, we spent $100 million on these experiences and $100 million on these experiences. Which one had a better emotional impact? Right. Pepsi can sponsor a Beyonce concert and a Jay-Z concert. One of these has higher ROI. Right. And we can actually use data to actually quantify that.
Yeah, so, there was an old saying. Oh, go ahead. Keep going. You're on the fire.
The emotional impact is still super important. In fact, I think it's more important than ever, because influencer marketing does not create the kind of emotional impact that these brands desire. The problem is that it's not data or emotion. It's a matter of like the world of people who understand both is very small still. You have the crazy data scientists who are looking at everything from a scientific perspective, and you have the Mad Men folks who are looking at everything from like oh wow, this is emotionally really rich, but like the future is really about combining these, right? And one thing that we're trying to do is build a community of next generation marketing leaders who really understand that the emotional impact needs the data and vice versa.
Damn, that's strong, dude. It reminds me of an old saying that I heard someone say. He said, if you're going to make a gut decision, feed your gut. Absolutely. And feeding your gut is not just, feeding it with just, how you feel, but it is that data. It is that data that you're talking about, that data and those experiences. I mean, that makes a lot of sense there, man. Gosh. So tell me how many different brands or some of the brands, if you're able to name them, that AnyRoad does business with or you partner with?
We work with about 200 brands all over the world, mostly North America and Canada, but we're expanding more internationally, mostly in CPG, retail, and auto.
Wow. So in the retail right now, because I think sometime in July you had done a talk on retail. You were on stage and you had talked about how retail companies can build through scale through a platform.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah. So, I mean, bringing this back, a lot of retailers have a huge footprint from a number of stores perspective. And as commerce moves more online, a lot of folks are either closing stores or trying to figure out what they're doing. And we're seeing a lot of really inspiring use cases. Dick's Sporting Goods is turning a lot of their stores into these house of sports locations with rock climbing walls, batting cages, sports classes for kids, along the same lines of Nike, that are saying, look, we don't care whether you walk out with an item today. We want to be the place where you participate in your sports and your athletics. You see brands like Michaels and Joanne that are investing heavily in art classes. You see brands like North Face that do climbing experiences and all kinds of outdoor experiences. REI believes that in 10 years, they'll be making more money selling experiences than things. Sur La Table sells spatulas, but you can also go on a date there and learn how to saute, and they're a cooking class, right? But they believe that you go and take a cooking class, there's an increased chance that you'll walk out with a new cast iron pan.
Oh man.
What we're seeing is really the reinvention of physical space, right? And B, brands realizing that these experiences are not just a nice to have; they are by far the most successful, the most successful and effective way to actually increase lifetime value of their customers and build that loyalty.
I mean, are there any brands that you see like, man, they're doing it right? Some that you don't work with, you say like, gosh, you're doing a great job, or you look at some others, you can say like, ah, they really need some help, or they should be doing this. Do you look at them like that, like daily on a daily basis, say,
Oh
damn, they
yeah.
really need to do this?
Oh yeah. I mean, look, Lululemon's a great experience. Not one of our customers. I've a, you know, Calvin, the CEO, came out about 2 years ago and said, "We are no longer an apparel company. We are now an experience company."
Wow.
Again, they're spending hundreds of millions of dollars on these experiential programs. They even built uh, these stores. I wouldn't call them stores. These experiential centers in Chicago that don't even have checkout kiosks, right? Because it's not
Wow.
about moving product. It's about coming to actually be a part of this community and take your yoga classes and do Pilates and meditate with your friends. And again, it's incredible what they're doing. And they're doing this all over the world, but they don't know what works. They don't know if they intuitively believe this works. They don't have any data around this. And so I look at them and I say, they're leaving a lot on the table.
Yeah.
I look at a lot of car brands. A lot of car brands, car sales are going down all over the world.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But a lot of these brands are heavily into experiential, right? You can go drive a Porsche around a racetrack. You can go test drive a BMW. BMW actually built their own theme park in Munich called BMW World.
And one here in South Carolina too. They have a course. When I got mine, they gave you an invite to come up there and drive.
There you go. You go. The question is, if you go and do that, how does that actually impact the chance that you're going to purchase a BMW in the next 5 years?
Greatly.
Right. Of course. Yeah. But they don't currently have a way to actually understand that, pull in that data and connect that into the purchase data. And this is the largest low-hanging fruit for most brands.
Yeah, which especially I think with the retail automotive, because there's so much information that goes back and forth between the two, even when you're in the searching process and then the buying process. They should be more armed than anyone, with data and experiences. But I think it's for that industry, it's some of them are still in the madmen mindset. Let's call it that. The
That's right.
madmen mindset, where it's like product, and no experience at all.
Yeah, the way I look at it is like it's a maturity curve, right? You have the brands that are not doing anything experiential because they think that nothing ever is going to change and they're going to be disrupted and probably go out of business in the next 5 years, right? Then you have the brands that are exploring this and starting to create some experiences and being like, wow, this feels like it works. Then you have the brands that are really doing experiences that scale. Then you have the brands that define themselves as an experiential business.
Wow.
Right? That happens to maybe sell product on the side. And then at the top, you have the brands that do all of this, but actually have the data to understand the ROI, understand what's working, and scale smartly, right? And frankly, those are the brands that use AnyRoad. I feel like part of our job is to actually help brands move along this experiential maturity curve, right?
Yeah.
And brands are pretty good about identifying where they're at. We'll talk to brands and they're like, look, we're down here. We're like starting to experiment with experiences. We know it's important. We just don't really know how to do that. And like, it feels really hard to scale, but like, we know it's important. And that's great. That's taking the first step, right? But it's important also for us to be able to enable these businesses to say, look, it is hard, right? Digital, in real life is certainly harder and sometimes more expensive to scale than digital. But it is just far more effective at building a global company.
Whenever the brands do come to you, are they ready? Or do you find some that say, we're not going to try that. We're not going to do this, how do you deal with that kind of brand?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, again, it depends where they are in that maturity curve, right? You have like the people who, number one, it's very hard to convince a brand that they should build out and scale experiences. So generally when brands come to us, they already believe that experiential is important, and it's going to become, if it's not already, a core part of their business. Right. But somebody in the organization, often the CEO, sometimes the CMO, are like, look, we're spending a lot of money on experiences. We know it's important, but like, we're not going to make these decisions without data.
Right.
Right. And, there are the crazy companies like Lululemon that are like, we don't have data. We're just going to throw these experiences out into the world. And like, we see a lot of people smiling. People seem like they like it. People post about it on Instagram sometimes. Like, that's crazy. It's a publicly traded company spending $300 million a year on experiences.
I'm telling you,
that's just nuts. But generally, when brands come to us, they're already bought into the power of experiences, and they realize that having data to optimize these experiences and scale them is really the holy grail.
Now, you mentioned the maturity curve, and I like that. So is it when they're coming to you, are they doing well, or is it when they're declining? Then when they say, we need to make a change?
Generally when they're doing well. Again, like, the most successful companies in the world are all turning into experiential businesses, right? You look at retail. If I told you to invest your 401k in a basket of retail stocks, you'd tell me to, get lost. Like, retail's not where you want to be investing your 401k.
Right.
But if I said, hey, why don't you invest your 401k in a basket of experiential retail stocks? Well, now this is a different story. And
right.
Ignoring this latest market downturn, these are companies like Nike, Lululemon, Michaels, Home Depot, Costco. These are like the most experiential retail brands, and their stocks are doing amazingly. Right? These are incredible companies that are way outperforming the normal basket of retail stocks. Right. So generally, these are brands that are doing very well in a world of intense competition, that realize that the missing piece is being able to scale that experiential, deepen these relationships. So if Home Depot can keep you, taking DIY classes and workshops in there, you're probably not going to walk across the street to Lowe's to buy your paint.
You're also, one thing that we also didn't mention too is how much that experiential relationship can actually build trust.
Absolutely.
Think of that. It's funny you said the Home Depot, because I remember I've always been the Lowe's person, because like in my old neighborhood, it was right there. It was really convenient, and they seemed to be a little more female friendly, where my thoughts were the contractors went to Home Depot, the residential people stayed at, Lowe's.
Yeah.
But you go into a Home Depot, and they have like this father and son doing DIY stuff. And now what has happened? You've actually made an impression on that young son who's with his dad, that Home Depot is the place for him, right?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. And this is why brands like Home Depot and Lowe's are scaling these experiences, both for the pros, right? And so like you have this thought of Home Depot being more for the pros than the average person, and this is like a serious perception problem that they're having, right? But if I was Home Depot, and I'm not, I would really look at scaling experiences for every segment of your customer base, right? For those kids who are coming in and want to learn woodworking, for the people who want to stucco their own house, and also for the pros who might not need to, learn these specific skills, but just want to, want a little bit more engagement from a place that they go to frequently.
Give me some success stories. Tell me a success story, at least two of them that kind of stand out for customers who actually utilize your product, because you don't get to a Series B the way you are right now with just talk. So tell me some success stories that have happened there.
Yeah. So Johnny Walker is a great one. Johnny Walker is one of the biggest whiskey brands in the world, owned by Diageo, largest beverage company in the world. And they just invested £100 million in a brand new experiential center in Scotland.
Wow.
And they worked with us to really like go deep here. So we said, what do you want to do here? And they're like, look, we want Johnny Walker to be the most experiential whiskey brand. And we also want it to not be a one-size-fits-all experience. And so we worked with them on this concept where do you drink scotch at all?
I don't.
You don't? Okay.
No, I don't.
People who do drink scotch often.
I know who Johnny Walker is. Trust me, I know.
Oh, I hope so. People who do drink scotch have very specific taste palates, right? And there are some people who really love the peaty, really like smokiness, and there are some people who really like, the kind of smoother, sweeter bourbon style from Kentucky, and there are people who really like the straight from the barrel, like really strong. There are lots of different taste profiles, right?
Yeah.
And depending on how the scotch is made and aged, you can actually bring out a lot of different types of tastes, right? From spicy to sweet to peaty to smoky to anything. So Johnny Walker, if you go to visit them through the kind of booking and registration process, which is powered by us, you'll take a taste profile quiz. And they want to know, what you like. Do you really like cilantro, or do you really like avocado, or and through this, and they do a lot of amazing work behind the scenes. They will tailor the actual experience when you get there to your specific taste profile.
Wow, isn't that pretty tough though to keep up with all these different people though?
Absolutely,
because it's not a one size fits all.
Absolutely, it's really tough, and it's super innovative. But it's also, this is something that is more a technology problem than a logistical problem, right? And so, and we help them solve that, and it's extremely successful. And they have millions and millions of people a year who are visiting Johnny Walker, and everyone is getting a very unique, tailored experience to them and to their taste profile. And this is, it's incredible. And the other thing is, I'm not just saying, oh, this is a cool experience, Mad Men style. We have the data to back this up. Right. Damn. So we have data from millions and millions of consumers pre every experience, during every experience, and post every experience, showing how women engage with the brand versus men, showing how old people versus young people engage with the brand.
Oh, that's gold. That's gold, man.
They're showing like whether people from Scotland engage with the brand differently than people from Brazil. Showing whether people who had never heard of Johnny Walker before and our first time learning about the brand engage differently than somebody who drinks Johnny Walker every single day, right? So we're really diving in to say people are very different, right? And if you and I go together to Johnny Walker, you don't like scotch, right? And I like certain kinds of scotch, but I'm not really into the peaty types. Like we can have very different experiences there and still walk out with increased perception of the Johnny Walker brand. So it's a huge success story, and it's not just Mad Men. Wow, this is cool.
Right.
We actually have the data that's real time across millions and millions of people, showing that this experience is working across many different demographics.
So now, okay, you got the data. Now, great success story. So when they get the data, how is a brand to utilize that? Do you and the rest of your team, do you also at AnyRoad show them, okay, now that we've got this information, here's how we can utilize this so that we can ensure that we get an ROI from it?
Yeah, absolutely. So we work with about 50 breweries, everyone from Budweiser to Molson Coors to Guinness to Anchor, Sierra Nevada. This is where we started, right? So we work with a lot of really amazing breweries. And there are only two reasons that you would, and we have data from millions and millions and millions of people who have taken brewery experiences, brewery tours, beer tastings, beer pairing dinners, all of it. And there are only two reasons why somebody would not like a brewery tour. Can you guess?
The smell?
No, that's not
okay.
Really.
Okay. They don't drink?
No.
Really?
Yeah. So
I would think that would be the number one reason. Like they wouldn't be interested, right?
I think so. So people end up in St. Louis, right? Where Budweiser headquarters is. And, they'll go to their concierge at their hotel and be like, what's cool to do in St. Louis? And somebody will be like, to go to the Budweiser brewery. And they're like, okay, I don't drink. And they're like, oh, that's cool. Budweiser realized that a lot of people who didn't drink or are not huge Budweiser fans were going, and they started creating experiences tailored to this type of person.
Wow.
Right? So they have one experience called Beerology, which is the science of beer making. And this actually does really well for people who don't drink.
Oh yeah, it's very interesting. When I was years ago when I started in a restaurant, we had a microbrewery on the inside, and the entire process was fascinating.
Absolutely.
It made you want to try it.
Absolutely, right? And so again, this is just an example of looking at people as unique individuals rather than kind of one size fits all. Let's just push everyone through the brewery tour.
Yeah.
So again, we're back to this. 2 reasons why somebody would not like a brewery tour.
They think it wouldn't be interesting.
No. So number 1, it's the guide, right? You have somebody who's just like really annoying, not funny, like discriminatory.
Wow.
Then that's going to completely.
I would not have thought of that. I would not have thought of that. It would be the guide.
People are super important across all these experiences, whether it's, the person you're playing basketball against in a Nike experience, or Michael's art class, the art teacher, or, a brewery tour guide. The person becomes an ambassador of the brand. So that's really important. The second reason is group size. So if you go and there are 2 people in the group, it's like kind of boring, not that exciting. If there are 40 people in the group, you have no personal time. It's also really annoying. So
I would never have thought that.
The optimal group size is around 14 people, right? And you go below 10 or above 20, and you actually see engagement drop, right? And so you asked me how brands are using this data. Brands are using this data to do things like create Beerology experiences for people who don't drink.
Wow.
Limit group sizes to under 20 because it actually increases engagement. People also don't like free experiences, right? So if you charge $5 for a brewery experience, you're going to have much higher engagement than if the exact same thing is free, because people don't like free. So charge $5 rather than have it free, right? Actually, you can see with our data, you can see which people or which guides or which teachers are actually outperforming and creating this kind of brand love, as opposed to which ones are actually turning people off to the brand, right? So brands should focus on, really nurturing their people and identifying who are their top performers and getting rid of the ones who actually destroy brand value.
That's incredible, because truthfully, I would have never thought that, and this is someone who markets for a living. I never would have thought that it had nothing to do with their product at all. Absolutely nothing to do with the product. It was all about people. It was about the guide and the group size.
Absolutely.
That's interesting.
And what we're seeing is that the brands that are far along on their maturity curve, especially the ones that have been working with us for a while, start to look at this with the same kind of rigor that we would look at advertising on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So if I want to target, women in their 20s in Ohio, I'm going to create very different experiences than if I want to target, men in their 60s in Southern California.
Yeah.
Right. And if I have, a bunch of 21-year-old women, because they have to be drinking age, coming to Budweiser, and I have a bunch of 80-year-old men coming to Budweiser, like I might want to create different experiences that resonate with each of them separately.
Yeah.
And this was always something we did online, right? We say, hey, we're going to have a Facebook ad and we're going to target a specific demographic in a specific location. But turns out we can do exactly the same thing with experiences.
You have a number of different products under under AnyRoad. You have AnyRoad Atlas, you have AnyRoad Experience Manager, and AnyRoad Live, powering live events and brand activations. Tell me about that one, because it seems like we're in this live and online day and age. I mean, tell me about that if you don't mind, Jonathan.
Yeah. So Live is really our product for engagement and first-party data across activations and non-ticketed, non-gated experiences, right?
Okay.
So you want to take an art class, you want to go to the batting cages at Dick's Sporting Goods, you want to do a North Face climbing class, you want to go to the Kentucky Bourbon Trail, you're registering ahead.
Got it.
Right? You're buying a ticket. Sometimes it's free, sometimes it's paid, but either way, you're opting into this relationship with the brand in exchange for an experience using the AnyRoad platform, and we capture data all opt-in there. But what about when you go to Coachella or your favorite music festival and you have brands populating these music festivals all over the place, right? Turns out brands are there because they want to create unique, meaningful connections with their consumers.
Yeah.
But it's not the way that you're going to buy a ticket for, right? So AnyRoad Live is a platform to deepen that engagement, right? We worked with Procter & Gamble at the Afropunk Festival recently. And they were going deep with a lot of their brands to reach folks there. And they wanted to know what the ROI was. They want to know who they were targeting. They wanted to know like whether people perceived this as a positive thing and had better brand perception of Procter & Gamble because they're at this amazing festival that they're at. And so that AnyRoad Live is really to serve that need. And as we see music festivals, concerts, activations, pop-ups, we see these things just going crazy. Brands come back to us and say, we're investing heavily on this. We're increasing our budgets by 30% a year in some cases, and we have no idea whether it's working.
That's a success story in itself right there, man. Have you ever realized like there's different demographics that people thought that they knew, and once they partner with you, it's like you truly didn't really know the audience. I know we said that earlier that some brands don't know their audience, and I remember years ago when I was at this was a franchise automotive dealer, and he said this particular audience of people don't buy new cars, they buy used cars, but it was all his gut feeling. He didn't have any data to really back that up, So has there been a case where you guys have actually really helped revive a brand by saying this is what you need to start doing?
Yeah, the biggest question a lot of brands need to answer, and we help them do this, but a lot of brands are misinformed, is whether they are trying to build loyalty and deep engagement with their existing customer base or trying to bring new people into this, right? And we had this problem at Red Bull, right? These 50,000 people who come to our Red Bull event, like we had no idea, are these people brand new who just thought this would be a fun thing to do with families? Or are these people who drink Red Bull already and are coming here because they really love this? And we didn't really know. And we see this, in places like Kentucky, where we work with the Kentucky Bourbon Trail. You have 1 million people a year who visit the Kentucky Bourbon Trail, right? Wow. And people go to Wild Turkey and Jim Beam and Lux Row and all these incredible bourbon distilleries. And you have a very interesting delineation between the people who are, go once in their life, and this is like, oh my God, I'm paying homage to these incredible whiskey brands that I really love, versus the people who maybe live in town and they're like, oh, I come here every time I have friends visiting, and that's like a popular thing to do.
Well, what are some of the important lessons you got along the way in your career? I mean, I'm talking about from when you first started in college, Jonathan, till now. I mean, what are some important lessons, man?
I think the biggest one is just how much of a roller coaster entrepreneurship is, and that you can't have the good without the bad.
Yeah, man.
It's taken me a while. I used to get really stressed by the difficult times, and now I look at it as a necessary part of the journey. And to embrace it and learn from it just as much as the good times. But also, it goes into a bigger theme of just managing my own psychology, I think.
Great point. Such a great point. I have an article coming out tomorrow that's published in entrepreneur.com.
Oh, nice.
Where it says entrepreneurship is a lonely place, because it truly is. It truly is. And I think that's a great answer right there. What would you, if you can go back in time, man, and to yourself 10, 15 years ago, what would you say?
Just keep going.
Damn. Just keep going. Just keep going, man. Jonathan, man, I hope you and we stay connected.
Absolutely.
Through this, man. I'm going to continue following you, man, and I'm so happy with everything that you've done.
So
So I am so happy, and I want to wrap this up. But you and I, we brought something up earlier, and now, since COVID, we talked about COVID and what its effects have been on people, and also remote teams. But you also mentioned, you said you're one that loves the interaction, and your team is still cohesive, and you guys are together. I mean, how do you continue to have that culture and that magic in such this remote world? How do you do that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to bring people together. I think that the most creative, strategic work and thinking has to be done in person.
Mhm.
And I think that the world that we've kind of settled into at AnyRoad is one where we have incredible physical spaces for people to congregate and do that creative interaction, strategic work. But people don't have to come in every day. And when you're at home, that's the time for like focused work where you don't have those kinds of distractions. But we also do things like we're taking the entire company to Portugal.
Awesome.
Because we have folks all over the world, and it's really important for us to spend time together, right? It's not that expensive, but it's a really good use of our time and money to be able to get to know each other better, to create that empathy, to actually understand who we're working with. So it's not just like anonymous names on a Slack.
Yeah.
So it's extremely important for us to have that real life component. I think that the most game-changing industry-defining companies in the next 20 years are all, maybe besides crypto, are all going to have a really intentional in-person aspect.
You made a prediction earlier. You said a lot of retail companies are gonna shut down. Any other predictions you want to put out here? And then we can use this as a time capsule and come back and said, Jonathan said this.
I think that a lot of retailers are going to shut down. I also think that digital marketing, this is kind of a obvious prediction to a lot of marketers, but we're seeing Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and all of these, and Snapchat, we're seeing the ad platforms have way worse results, way worse ROI, way more expensive. So I think that every generation there's a category defining marketing platform. And the last one was digital. The last one was Facebook, right? Like Facebook and Google took all, the huge
broadcast television's money.
And again, we went from print to television to, digital and social. And I believe that the next generation is all experiential.
Wow.
And I think the only thing that experiential is missing is the data layer. And that's why we're hard at work building it.
Yeah, I think between the experience and also the digital, you just can't lose. You just can't lose, man. I'm honored to be able to have you on the show today, man. You're a great guest, man, and I'm proud of what you've done for you and your company. Jonathan, I want you to go ahead and shout yourself out. I want you to give people those handles so they can follow you, see what you're doing, where you're speaking. I want them to go on, and for those business owners out there that's brands, I want them to actually go to your website and find out as much as they can about AnyRoad. It's anyroad.com, just like how it is. But go ahead and shout it out, Jonathan.
Yeah, we got anyroad.com. I'm on Twitter. Where is Yaffe? Yaffe is Yaffe. I'm speaking this week at Marketing AI Conference in Cleveland, next week at Traction in Vancouver, Web Summit in Lisbon in a month or two, all over the place. I'm also Jonathan at anyroad.com.
Dude,
blow up my inbox.
Really good stuff. And, maybe we should do a part 2 in like probably 3-4 months to talk about how much AI is actually, taking over. I've seen something now. What's it called? There's an AI platform where you just type in words and it actually makes the images. I think
Dolly,
it's things like Dolly or things like Any Word, or Jasper, those things out there. Jasper, Jarvis, whatever they rebranded as now. But those things, just how AI is taking over and how it's even helping with SEO now. So we'll possibly do that again, man, and have another conversation. But I want to definitely thank our listeners for listening to the AdCast. If you think this episode's been great, man, just give us a thumbs up, a great rating, and actually forward this on to your friends, man, so we can have more awesome guests like Jonathan Yaffe here from AnyRoad onto our podcast. I want to thank you guys for giving us your most valuable asset, which is your time. It's the one thing, if you had $1 billion, you couldn't buy another second. This is the AdCast. Jonathan, you're great, man.
Thanks so much. This was awesome.
Hey guys, I'm back. I hope that you enjoyed that episode of the AdCast. If you didn't, go online, give me a review, and tell me how you want us to make it better for you. And if you did, give us a 5-star rating anywhere that you listen to your favorite podcast. But I want to thank you for your most valuable asset. That's your time, and thank you for listening. Enjoy the AdCast, and stay tuned for another hot episode coming up soon.